Coming up on Mountain News at 6, a Whitley County couple now faces new charges in the death of a 4-year-old girl. The latest on that investigation. And as the new legislative session approaches, Kentucky lawmakers are preparing to address tax cuts and issues surrounding emerging technologies.
And get ready for an unsettled week in the world of weather. We went from 70s today to 40s by the end of the week. Details in a few minutes.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
A Whitley County couple charged in the death of a 4-year-old are facing new charges. Adam Hayes and Brittany Slaughter are both accused of murder in the death of 4-year-old Chloe Darnell, who was discovered in a shallow grave last year. Both Hayes and Slaughter were indicted, but as WYMT's Phil Pendleton explains, more charges have been added and both were re-indicted.
It was almost a year ago that Chloe Darnell's body was found in a shallow grave outside Corbin in Whitley County. Police testified in a November 27th hearing that the 4-year-old had suffered broken bones.
And the ribs were found to have separation or fractures.
Both Adam Hayes and Brittany Slaughter were indicted on murder and other charges. On Monday, they answered to additional charges in a superseding indictment.
For Mr. Hayes was a charge of criminal abuse first degree and persistent felony offender.
Slaughter is also charged with criminal abuse and failure to report a change to receive benefits. Prosecutors have filed a notice to seek the death penalty for Adam Hayes. This is one of just a number of child death cases in Whitley County, and they say dealing with these cases is never easy.
It's hard, and there's several people in our office that have small children also. I have a son that's 2 years old, and when these cases come across our desk, that's the first place your mind goes.
Both pleaded not guilty to all the charges, and attorneys say they hope to set a trial date early next year.
So we're trying to keep this case moving and kind of get the ball rolling towards trial.
Both suspects remain in the Whitley County Jail. In Whitley County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Both Hayes and Slaughter will be back in court in January for a pretrial hearing. Also in Whitley County, 2 people accused in the death of a child in a moped crash went back before a judge today. A 10-year-old died in August when the moped she was a passenger on crashed on Interstate 75. Danish Martin and Darius Wade were indicted on charges in connection with the girl's death. Wade was arraigned on murder, Martin on complicity to commit murder. Not guilty pleas were entered for both, and a pretrial conference was set for January 21st. Last night, officials with the Perry County Sheriff's Department received a report about a social media school threat. Now a minor is being charged. WYMT's Caroline Mueller got the details from the sheriff.
At approximately 6 p.m. Sunday evening, the Sheriff's Department was notified by school personnel of a TikTok account threatening to have a shooting at Perry County Central High School.
Our investigators, also working with KSP, Electronic Crimes Investigators, we began investigating this, contacting social media companies, obtaining subpoenas and search warrants.
Perry County Sheriff Joe Ingalls says they were able to identify the source of the threat almost immediately.
By 11 p.m. last night, we had the person responsible for this in custody, which was a juvenile, and they were transported overnight to detention center. So charges were filed for terroristic threatening in relation to the crime.
Ingalls says it was students at Perry Central who initially reported the account to law enforcement.
And those are the first people to know when these types of things are going on, and that's what prevents something bad from happening, is when these students step up like they do and let someone know immediately. The sooner the better that we can get on it and try to stop something from happening.
He emphasizes the seriousness of such threats.
It's a serious crime. It's a felony. You're going to be locked up. You're going to destroy your life. And also in the process, you're hurting and causing mental damage to a lot of other people.
Ingalls recommends parents of underage children monitor their phones and the apps they're communicating with to help avoid instances like this one. In Perry County, Caroline Mueller, WYMT Mountain News.
Ingalls says since the person responsible is a juvenile, they are unable to release any other information. However, he says it was not a Perry Central student. Police in southern Kentucky arrested a man following a chase. It happened last week on Highway 92 in Williamsburg. Police say Charles Bryant was driving recklessly and refused to stop. Officers chased him onto Highway 25 before he crashed. He was then taken into custody. Bryant is now facing DUI and fleeing charges.
Wow, what a beautiful day across eastern Kentucky, albeit cloudy, but temperatures were not bad. Upper 60s, even low 70s. Numbers for today played out like this: 72 in Somerset, 67 in London, 66 was the high in Manchester. We made it to 64 in Hazard, 67 in Jackson. Pikeville checked in with a high of 62. Look at that, a beautiful sunset in Knott County, courtesy of the Kentucky Mesonet camera. A little bit of cloud cover out there. Temperatures right now still in the 50s and 60s. We're in the mid 60s from Monticello to Somerset, 62 in London, 64 Manchester, 61 in Hazard, 55 the Double Nichols and Wise, as well as Grundy. All is quiet on live pinpoint Doppler radar. This is going to get a break tonight, but it will start to pick up activity as we go throughout the morning hours of your Tuesday as our next weather maker pushes its way through in the form of the first of two cold fronts. When you wake up in the morning, temperatures in the upper 40s and low 50s will greet you. Notice that southwesterly component. That's what's going to keep us in the upper 60s and low 70s yet again. But there's a big change coming in the second half of the work week. We'll talk about that in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. Kentucky's 2025 legislative session is set to begin on Tuesday, January 7th. And while some lawmakers were in Frankfort today for various committee hearings, others attended the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce's annual legislative preview. Representative Josh Bray says Kentuckians can expect to see efforts made on lowering the individual income tax from 4% to 3.5%. He also says artificial intelligence will be a topic of discussion in Frankfort.
We've got the appropriate guide rails and guardrails on to protect our citizens' data, privacy, to make sure the Commonwealth's ready for the emerging technology.
Kentucky House and Senate members will have from January 7th through February 18th and 19th, respectively, to file legislation. It's a big week for getting people involved in education throughout the state. Governor Andy Beshear proclaimed this week as Kentucky Family Engagement in Education Week. It's to highlight the importance of community and family partnerships to help improve education for kids so they can grow up to lead full and successful lives.
It's why I'll continue to advocate for pay raises for all of our public school educators and continue to push for universal pre-K, which will do so much to ensure every child is kindergarten ready and is the single strongest thing that we can do to address the child care crisis we're facing right now and to get more people into our workforce.
The Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence is one of the sponsors for Family Engagement Week. Railroad work is set to take place in Bell County later this week. Officials with the Transportation Cabinet say CSX Corporation has said that railroad maintenance will happen on Kentucky 441 in Middlesboro on Wednesday. The roadway at this location will be closed starting at 8 a.m. and is expected to reopen at 8 in the evening. Cabinet officials say those on the road may experience delays.
All right, after seeing temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s, there's a big change coming in the form of cooler temperatures. We'll call it weather whiplash, and we'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes. Stay with us.